it's just a strange situation of that we had a new PM being sworn in, and then one of the front runners at one point somehow got sworn at.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
So this is the first podcast we are recording in the PM Wong era.
After Lee. The After Lee era.
After Lee, the AL.
Yeah.
The AL. Because, the episode we recorded with Leong Man Wai, which came out on 15th May, the day of the swearing in, we recorded before.
Yeah, we were still referring to PM Wong as PM designate.
Yeah.
But now he is PM Wong.
He is PM Wong.
Yeah.
And that is something we'll be talking about. But before that, how has the past few days been?
Pretty exhausting, man. We were at, as part of Folklore, we were at Echelon X conference by E27, which is a tech conference for startups, right? Startups, VCs, investors, and all that. And yeah, we had a booth there. So it was like 2 days of non-stop talking. How was it for you?
Wow, it was damn tiring. It's damn tiring. But it was tiring in a great way because, it was the first time we had our Folklore cassette at a public event. And that brought in a lot of people. Yeah. And I think at times all four of us were engaged with people. Talking. And quite a few Yala Bud fans also came and said hi.
Right? That was nice. Yeah. People who were exhibiting there also recognized us. Some people who especially came to see us, right?
Yeah.
So that was nice. But you say it's very tiring talking, but I thought you loved talking. What's the difference? You talk for a living at a podcast.
I don't know, man. The second day at the end, I had a bad headache. So I don't know what was going on. And maybe it was just, I don't know, I just felt damn tired. I also was surprised because, I do enjoy talking. But I think as much as you think I enjoy talking a lot, right? I also got a limit.
Oh, really?
I also got a limit.
I think it might be because you also meet your match in terms of people who enjoy talking also, right? Like there are people who come to the booth who also enjoy talking as much as you do, and then it's like it's like two people who enjoy talking to each other.
But even then,
much more.
would you say I enjoy talking more than a lot of people?
Yeah, definitely.
Really?
Yeah, I would say so.
I wouldn't say that.
I would say, obviously, you got no self-awareness, you wouldn't say that, of course. But as an objective party, I would tell you.
Okay. I do admit that I do talk a lot. And there were people who were very keen to talk, which was great. But I guess if you're walking around, you have one long conversation, you can take a break. Because we were at our booth and generally it's very nice to talk to people who are excited about the idea.
Yeah.
So then you talk, but it was damn tiring, man.
Yeah. It was, and I think there's a certain dance to do these kind of conferences, right?
Yeah.
You talk to people, and they have an agenda. You also have an agenda, and you're just trying to find the humanity in each other in that short conversation.
Humanity, yeah. Still, a lot of good conversations, a lot of follow up to do. And to everyone who came to say hi, thank you. It was always nice to meet people who listen to Yala Bud. But incidentally, we were there during the few days where we changed hands as PM. The PM changed hands.
We were at the forefront of the technological change in the Singapore startup scene and everything. Watching all these AI startups, selling the wares, and just reflecting on what it means to be Singapore in this global order, this new global order. Very, very poignant.
Yeah.
And trying to link to completely unrelated things together.
As you know, there was all AI there. Like what you say, finding humanity, which is kind of like what we do at Folklore.
Yeah.
But so enough to talk about as our first topic. But before that, what's our regular spiel, Terrence?
As always, please follow, subscribe, share this video or this podcast that you're listening to. Because that really helps us. It gives us feedback on what we're doing right, what we're not doing right, or not doing so well. And also tells us we should do more.
Yeah. And we just passed 3,000 followers on Instagram.
Yay, finally.
Yeah. So just follow us on social media. And if you want to work with us, just reach out at ministryoffunny.com, our website. You can leave a message and we will reply.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
But so how does the air feel different in PM Wong's era?
Not really. Yeah. There's been a flood of info online. like really a flood, to the point that because we were so caught up in the past 2 days events, when I was catching up, I didn't know where to start, man. I didn't know where to start. But I don't know, man. It feels the same.
Yeah. I mean, big thing for me was just the ceremony, the swearing-in ceremony. That we coined the coronation, but it was the swearing-in ceremony, right?
Yeah.
It's quite historic, if you think about it. Even there's only the 4th Prime Minister Singapore has ever had. So I think in my lifetime, this is the first one that I've actually watched, right? I don't think even as a kid, I saw this on TV or anything.
For Lee Hsien Loong's one, 2004?
I mean, I was in Singapore at that point.
Oh, you weren't in
Singapore?
Singapore?
I was studying overseas.
Oh.
Yeah, so I haven't had the chance to watch it.
And Goh Chok Tong, you were young.
Yeah, I was too young to remember that. Or even care about that.
I tried looking for clips of SM Lee's swearing-in speech online. But I couldn't find. I could just find him clips of him signing the oath next to Tony Tan, who was the president then. It was it would be nice to compare, but I think, when you put it that way, 4th Prime Minister of Singapore, last Prime Minister was in power for 20 years.
Yeah.
Who knows when the next swearing-in will be?
Yeah. Maybe by the time the next swearing-in comes in, we'll be wearing VR goggles and being there.
Yeah, we can be there. Yeah. As opposed to sitting in front of the Istana in the open and watching...
sweating your balls off.
Sweating balls off. It was funny. I think the whole swearing-in ceremony was an hour and a half, right? And you watched it live, right?
Was it an hour and a half? Yeah, I think it was an hour-ish.
Hour 20 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, plus the performance and everything.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. And you watched it live, right?
Yeah. I sat down and watched it. Yeah.
I watched it retroactively because there was a event that happened that night. But so the clip is online. You can see it. So as you were watching it, right, what was your real time range of emotions you were feeling?
I think the first one was just the shock that they were doing the ceremony outdoors. Because that night was bloody hot also. Right? Hot and humid. And I think no matter how many fans you place in the outdoors, people there are wearing suits and dresses and everything. They'll be sweating their balls off also. Right?
Yeah.
So I was damn shocked that it was held outside. I thought it would be inside the Istana or something.
Yeah.
But it was a nice setting, I would say. Very unique, right? Very uniquely Singapore that way. Old colonial looking building with nice gardens and a bunch of people sweating their balls off.
Yeah, I mean, it was surprising not only because of the heat, right? Because right now the weather is still unpredictable. Right? You would say it's unpredictable right now, right? But to have it outdoors, it just felt like, wow, that's a bit of a risk.
I'm sure there was a wet weather plan though, in case it rained or something.
But how early enough would they have to, I guess on the day itself?
Yeah. They'll probably pull the trigger half an hour before or something about the weather.
Yeah.
Wow,
and it was funny because when they zoom out, you can see a lot of people using the fans. The fans and all.
Yeah.
So that was one thing, even as I was watching it retroactively. And I mean, it was was it what you expected or what you remember from?
That's the thing. I have no recollection. Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, it'd be the first time also.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought it was fun to just watch, even if you don't care, about politics.
Yeah.
It's just a historic thing. It's like when Prince William or Prince Harry got married and all, most of us don't give a shit, right? It doesn't affect us in any way.
But it's still not a rare occurrence.
Yeah, it's a spectacle.
And from what I recall, the general sequence of events was the audience was seated, then the ministers of state walked in, then the senior ministers of state, then the senior ministers, then the current PM or the outgoing PM, then the incoming PM, then Tharman.
Yeah,
right.
And I think to even dissect it further, the first lady or President Tharman's wife, right? Came out.
First lady,
We don't use first lady in Singapore, I think.
Was it?
I'm not wrong. Yeah, I think that's a very US. It's a very US thing, which is interesting.
Spouse of the President of Singapore.
Yes. Which is an interesting thing because people like you and our, Jamus Lim take all these practices from the US and then apply them here in Singapore.
Me,
yeah.
Why like
first
me, man?
Lady of Singapore. There's no first lady in Singapore. Excuse me. This is not the United States of America, yo.
But I mean, okay lah. So even an article on 8 days that says a look at First Lady Jane Itogi's style. They put First Lady in inverted commas.
Yeah. Of course, it's an official title in the US, you see, but in Singapore, there's no official title like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, she came out separately from Tharman, which is pretty interesting.
So I mean, like, apparently a fun fact, Singapore used to have the official title of First Lady for the spouse of a male president, but that has not been the case since at least the year 2000. So now, it's the spouse of the president.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you were saying she came out first?
Yeah, separately from Tharman.
Oh, yeah, she did have, and like, the clapping only started when the outgoing PM came in.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, there was no clapping before that.
Yeah.
And so he came in, then, so I didn't know it was going to be that ceremonial, but it makes sense.
As in, what were you expecting it to be? Like parliament like that.
No, first of all, indoors.
Yeah.
And maybe like a smaller crowd. And maybe like that everyone will be seated and only the most senior people would have a walk-in. Because they literally walk in, then they walk down the middle aisle like as though they're getting married and all.
Yeah.
Then they go their separate ways.
Yeah.
Right. So that I found a bit surprising.
But you thought that there'd be less people?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, my expectation was kind of like National Day rally-ish kind of size of crowd.
Oh, that's a huge crowd, man.
Yeah. So it would include all those community leaders and things like that, and which it did.
Yeah, which it did.
Joseph Schooling, Yip Pin Siu, and a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
The singers who sang the NDP song and all that as well. So yeah, it was, I think it was like really like, members of parliament or people affiliated with politics in Singapore, former ministers and things like that.
Yeah.
And then it's like a lot of community leaders. So or some very select VIPs, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't that kind of spectacle like NDP style. So many people.
Yeah. Then after that, when they walked in, then I can't remember the exact order, but was it like Tharman gave a speech first?
Yeah.
Then PM Wong. Then they took
Tharman gave a speech first, then
the swearing in,
swearing in, right? Then Lawrence Wong gave a speech, yeah.
Oh, okay. So the swearing in of the ministers of state and the ministers and all came before Lawrence Wong's speech, right?
Before Lawrence Wong's
speech.
Right.
So after Lawrence Wong took the swearing in, then
Wait, I can't 100% remember already. But definitely he was sworn in before he gave his speech. That's for sure. Yeah.
Then I mean, certain things that stuck out. I know it became a meme also, like when the ministers of state and then the senior ministers of state and the ministers came to be sworn in, they had to walk up the stage and stand at the table, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was Ong Yi Kang, right, who came up and sat down first.
I see. I didn't see the sitting down.
Yeah, so when he came up, he was kind of at the furthest away from the center. So everyone came in and stood there. He came in, sat down, and he immediately got up because he was the odd one out.
I see.
Yeah, so that was one thing that was funny.
Yeah.
Another thing that came up quite early was the singing of the national anthem. And there was a particular MP also that got called out, right?
Yeah. And I'm alluding to your gaffe earlier about calling
First Lady,
calling the spouse of our president the First Lady. You take your Western things and bring here. People online have been criticizing Jamus Lim for, firstly his kind of sloppy attire because I think it was so hot he just couldn't take it, so he loosened his tie to the point where you could tell that his shirt was not buttoned, right? At least the top button was not buttoned.
Yeah.
So that was one level of criticism.
It's a kind of like after work, you open loosen your tie.
Happy hour
tie.
But then when singing the national anthem, he put his hand on his chest, like his palm on his chest, which is a very American style of singing their Star Spangled Banner national song, right?
Yeah.
So I think people online were criticizing it, saying that, this one, what you take from America and bring to Singapore, go back to America, bro, that kind of thing.
But what do you think of that? You think it's just a small issue or
not? I mean, I didn't see it as a big thing. I mean, I saw it like during the thing, but I didn't think it was a big deal. It's like some, like if you are a soldier or what, you salute, right, during the national anthem and all. As long as you are like in a position of like standing and respecting the flag and all that, right? Hand across the chest, I guess it's just saying, it's sort of like, you feel passionate, you need to hold yourself back, kind of thing,
Then the tie?
The tie, I mean, we're not there. We don't know feel the heat. But maybe it just really got to this point that it really cannot tahan already.
The Thai thing, I think, is like, why you must do that? Because, like, if you look, like, I couldn't spot anyone else who had that Thai thing.
Yeah, and other people were wearing suits.
Yeah, they were wearing suits.
He wasn't. Yeah.
So it's just not a good look. And it's one of those things that it feels very small, but to me, it's like, it's just not a good look because, like, it's one of those things, like, there are certain formalities.
Yeah.
But I can get why you think that it's not practical. But when you do that, it's just, like everyone else is just sucking it up and wearing tie.
I think maybe the gravity of the moment was maybe forgotten or something for a while. Like because of the heat. And then that probably messes with your brain. And then you don't realize that there's so many photos and cameras being pointed at you at that moment. Like you dig your nose or anything like that, it gets caught. It's there forever,
Yeah.
It's one of those funny things, like sometimes you see people at basketball games or football games, they do funny things in the crowd and they get caught on camera and that just gets beamed around the world.
Yeah.
So this happened here for Jameis Lim.
On the Pritam, if after that he's like, Jameis, the one time, just fucking tie up your tie properly. Everybody had a tie up. And it was quite early on, right? Yeah. It was quite early on.
But so, maybe, what like here you are judging him.
I know lah.
And then you yourself like, I had a headache yesterday and I felt so uncomfortable. Said, poor me. Maybe he was like feeling sick. Like he literally was going to throw up or something like that. And then like that he just needed to loosen his tie to get some air in.
Yeah.
Would you hold that against him?
First of all, I don't appreciate your impersonation of me because I don't think I sounded like that. But hold it against, I don't know, man. Like it's one of those things. Like you know, last time like in army parades and all or something. Even if you're feeling a bit like lightheaded and all, I mean, I don't know how it is now, right? But it just feels like in that moment, I don't know. It just felt okay, a bit more forgiving. But there's never going to be a way for him to explain why his tie was undone,
Maybe on Facebook, he used to on TikTok or something. He can do an explanation. Explainer.
I mean, it hasn't blown up or anything, lah. I'm just being like hyper picky, lah. But even in the picture that he posted on Facebook himself, with Pritam and his teammates, his tie is undone, lah.
Yeah, he's like that ACS guy, the bad boy kind of look to it.
I don't give a shit, man. It's hot. I'm gonna be practical.
ACS gangster.
ACS gangster. Well, they're not gangsters, right?
They're not. Yeah.
They're not gangsters. So
but also the other ministers that people are pointing out what they're wearing were I think Grace Fu and Amy Khor, because they wore green cheongsams, right? And very much in the vein of like sustainability and environment, which I think at first I thought was like pretty funny because people were pointing out, hey, why so bright green and everything. But after that I realized, maybe it really was the point, right? To wear green as part of their, to represent their portfolios, right?
Oh, their portfolios are related to that, lah.
Grace Fu is sustainability and environment, yeah.
Then Siman wore blue, lah.
Siman, I don't remember what Siman wore.
Johnny wore it. I mean, I'm also colorblind, lah. So So I'm not the best person.
Okay.
But
so Amy Khor is Senior Minister of State for Sustainability and Environment also, lah. So the fact that they both wore green, I think, was a concerted effort, lah. Yeah,
I see. But yeah, so aside from the what people wore and how they wore it, I mean, going through the speeches by Tharman, by Lawrence, like what do you make of it? What are some of your thoughts?
I mean, Tharman's because this is the first time we're seeing something like that, right? Seeing the president of Singapore like sitting in this giant throne and then delivering a speech. Usually we've seen Tharman give speeches. He's usually on some podium or in front of the rostrum in Parliament and all that. But to see him just seated there,
really like a throne,
really like throne, and his voice and just delivering this like address,
Yeah.
I think it's the it speaks to the newfound the gravitas that he brings to the throne also, right?
Yeah. So I mean, like looking at the photos of Lee Hsien Loong being sworn in, I think like it wasn't during Tony Tan's era. It was Nathan. So SR Nathan was a president then, and they also did it what looks like in front of the Istana lah.
I see.
Yeah, so I guess maybe it looked weird to us seeing it happen in front of Istana, but that seems like the tradition lah.
Yeah.
That seems like the tradition.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I think the speeches and all were very high level. You know, talking about the work of the ex-Prime Minister. Lawrence Wong spoke a lot about, I think in general, the society going forward. He wants to be a different type of leader.
Yeah.
The difficulty, the climate around the world politically, and certain things that he thinks are good about Singapore, about finding common ground.
Yeah.
He also spoke in Malay and Chinese.
Yeah, he did.
Right. I know, like, he's getting some attention on his language skills, because in an earlier interview with CNA, he spoke about taking Mandarin classes and Malay classes, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It feels weird, like people are focusing so much on how he intonates certain words.
Why? Why is it weird?
I mean, I don't know. Like it just felt like not so much about the message, but about how he says it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
but for you, it's a big thing.
No, I mean, I think he admits himself that you know, like languages were a struggle for him, and in some way that makes him even more relatable, right? Because even in my age, my memory of Lee Kuan Yew was that he spoke really good English, Only I think later in documentaries, then I found out actually he also had to take like classes and all
for
that.
the other languages, is it?
For Chinese especially.
But his Malay was quite good, right?
Malay good, yeah. But back then people could speak Malay quite fluently, right? Now it's a rarity, right? So yeah, you know, in some ways, I think he immediately pointed out, one of the things he pointed out in his speech that immediately was like, oh yeah, he's the first Prime Minister born after independence, right? Not taking a dig at anyone, but just literally it's just the reality of things that he grew up. I mean, all those, he said all the prime ministers before him had to sing several different national anthems. Right? So him has always been Majulah Singapura, which really, it's really a changing of guard. And I think, you know, even the whole process of the swearing in as well, like, quite poignant, right? You know, you see Tharman and Lee Hsien Loong, they're both big, towering figures, right?
Yeah.
And Lawrence Wong's a slightly different kind of demeanor, right?
Yeah.
And I mentioned it before in the previous podcast when I saw him next to, was it Macron, the French president, right?
Yeah.
Macron's not that tall. He's 1.75, you know, which is like below average, I think, in the Western world. So yeah, we have a prime minister who is now not like, you know, this big, towering figure that you know commands that kind of like dominant
gravitas.
The gravitas still can, but I think like the fact of being like physically imposing says something, right? So this new prime minister is a bit more of a you know, he's closer to one of us, I would say, in that sense, right? So yeah, just seeing it side by side there, and because you could see also the contrast when the DPMs and senior ministers also went on stage to get sworn in together.
Teo Chee Hean also is tall.
Teo Chee Hean is tall as hell. You know, Lee Hsien Loong's tall. Then there's Heng Swee Keat and Gan Kim Yong in the middle between them, right? You know, a bit smaller in stature and all that, but wow, it's like a really big difference.
So I mean, in some way, they are literally closer to the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe that's the thing, you know, even visually, right?
Yeah.
You know, we need to be on the ground. You know, closer to the ground.
Yeah.
So let's choose all the
which is interesting because conventional wisdom is that as generations move forward, usually with better nutrition and everything, the older generation, the newer generations should be taller than their predecessors, right? But this case is all reversed, right?
So I mean, even if they take a photo of the senior ministers, besides so the senior ministers is Lee Hsien Loong and Teo Chee Hean, right?
Yeah.
So then the three DPMs,
two DPMs,
because Heng Swee Keat is also senior minister. No.
DPM, Heng Swee Keat,
two DPMs, two DPMs and a PM, like three of them. Then behind them, the SS really just towering over them.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So that that's true. Like and then the president also . So then like what about Lawrence Wong's speech?
I don't know, man. I've seen there's been so much about Lawrence Wong in interviews and press coverage and everything in the past week that kind of by the time this ceremony rolled around, I was like, desensitized, forward SG, got it. What I found more interesting in the recent couple of days was just like actual video clips, or not video clips, but pictures of Lawrence Wong as a child and everything, right? They are circulating as part of his bio and all that. How you wrote, I think, played music and rode motorcycles and stuff like that. Things that we hear about in the story, but I don't think I've actually watched the videos of or pictures of him from his childhood and all that. So quite interesting, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like there was one video, right? Like one 10-minute video where he talks about the camera, talks to the camera, and that was where they showed some of the photos of him as a young chubby kid. Went to school where his mom taught.
Haig.
Yeah, Haig, and a lot of his brother and a lot of cousins also were studying there.
Yeah.
But I mean, watching the speech, I know there's been an influx of like interviews and like watching the speech, right? I actually felt quite excited.
Oh, Harish.
Yeah.
You're moved by the Forward Singapore story.
Yeah, I think it's less about the specifics, but it just feels like, okay, everything you're saying. Yeah, and he one thing that has been spoken about quite a bit is his focus on a post-materialistic world or something, right? And talking about
was that him who said it?
Or maybe that was maybe he didn't say that verbatim.
Okay.
But talking about how the younger generation, they want like a different kind of success or something. Like I have the whole transcript here.
Okay.
But basically like that approach that talked about, I mean, you can imagine like if he were to say that like a few years ago, it'll be like 10 years ago, it would feel like very out of like you wouldn't imagine someone saying it back then.
Yeah.
But the fact that he said it this time around, it felt like, okay, that's interesting. So it's still very high level. But why I felt a bit excited and all is because, okay, he has laid this down. There were things he said, I'm like, oh, okay. That's a nice thing to hear. Whether or not it happens, I don't know. But it feels like, okay, if that's the starting point, right, I'm excited to see how it pans out. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for me. Like, okay, he set out this thing. I agree with the aspiration. And now we need to hold him accountable and remember what he has said.
Yeah.
Because it does sound like acknowledging, okay, now Singapore is very different. The world is very different. The things that the younger generation or the future generations want is different, and let's work towards that, Yeah, you didn't feel anything, you felt it was just more of the same.
I genuinely am desensitized by this point.
Political talk,
by speeches and interviews and all that already,
Yeah.
To me, it's like what's the even the cabinet reshuffle that was announced like 2 days or a day or two prior, was not rocking the boat in any way, right? Other than unexpected promotion of Gan Kim Yong to the position of one of the two DPMs, right?
Yeah.
But other than that, like everyone else sort of retained similar portfolios. There were a couple other smaller promotions and things like that. So nothing that signals any like major shift from the status quo at this point, no?
Yeah. That was a bit of a letdown, because I think like we kind of caught wind that there was a big announcement. I think everyone kind of maybe caught wind in their own different ways. But the announcement was a bit like, that's it.
Yeah.
Felt like there was going to be big news or something.
Okay, but to qualify that, I think it could be, you could see it as big news that it wasn't one of the other people who initially were being considered for PM, right? Chan Chun Sing, Ong Yi Kang, even Desmond Lee or someone else, right?
Yeah.
But Gan Kim Yong, it was kind of out of left field that he's suddenly thought of as a DPM, right?
Yeah. And I mean, just to qualify what I said earlier, this is what Lawrence Wong said in verbatim. Like, younger Singaporeans in particular have spoken clearly. They will strive and work hard for their goals, but they do not wish to be trapped in an endless rat race of hyper competition. They want a refreshed Singapore dream, one that is not defined by material success alone, but also offers meaning and purpose in their careers and their lives. I am determined to help Singaporeans realize your dreams. So that, I feel like, oh, okay, that's interesting. That, everything that we hear often about Singapore is like, okay, what's the economic ROI? What's the practical side of things?
Yeah.
In this case, I mean, it's not focusing on hyper competition, trying to not have an endless rat race. I felt like, okay, that's new and let's see what happens
Yeah.
And then thinking about like what you said about, okay, Gan Kim Yong as DPM came out of left field. Even Lawrence Wong as much as he came into more prominence during COVID, he wasn't the first choice at that point in time, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of also like how he came into prominence when everybody was watching in full view. Whereas some of the other politicians, I mean, my interest in politics also grew a lot over the past few years only, but even 5-6 years ago, there were some politicians who you knew were very prominent.
Yeah.
But you didn't really know what brought them to prominence. So for Lawrence Wong, it felt like, okay, he felt not a front runner to becoming front runner, and we all saw that through COVID. I feel like, hey, actually, that's interesting. And for Gan Kim Yong to come out of left field, be DPM, also like, oh, that's interesting. So I will manage my expectations, but the starting point, I'm like, okay, let's see what happens.
Yeah. It's kind of like the build in public movement.
Correct.
You've seen the build this PM movement.
Yeah, so, build this PM, exactly.
You've seen him start from he really in that 10-minute video that you talked about earlier, which really goes through his history. You really see, he got a scholarship to study overseas, then he came back and really started work as a researcher or economist or something like that.
TI, right?
TI, and then bit by bit just worked his way through the system, right?
Yeah.
Not saying that makes him a better candidate, if anything, right? Staying in the public sector all the way, but it's like it's what the roles are. It's very defined, right? It's not like compared to private sector, a lot of times you're not very sure what people did or how credentialed or how what their credentials really mean, right? Like saying someone's a banker or private wealth manager.
Or Edwin Tong, did very well in law, then became a minister. So you never saw his rise of prominence in law.
Yeah.
And he just becomes a minister. You're like, hey, what has this guy done?
Yeah. I always allude to, I don't know, it's the Asian Games or something, when Lawrence Wong was the MCCY. And at the opening ceremony, he gave a speech, and I was like, who is this minister? He's so smiley.
Yeah.
So seems like, a little bit of got a smile plastered on his face all the time. Can this be real, right? And then now he's being sworn in as the successor to Lee Hsien Loong, right?
Yeah.
So it's really, it's like, from quoting a very famous guy who's in the news these days, Drake, started from the bottom. Now he's here,
And apparently Lawrence Wong got rejected from civil service when he first applied after graduating.
Oh, really?
Yeah, graduating. He applied for the Public Service Commission or something.
Oh, okay.
But then he went into MTI. I don't know the intricacies of that, because he was a PSC scholar, right?
Yeah, he was PSC scholar.
So there was some element there. So he only entered public service later on.
Yeah.
So I would say, I know in the last time we recorded a few episodes ago, it was like, does he have a strong enough personality? And it feels more like a Tim Cook versus Steve Jobs. But now, after looking at things pan out, his appointment of Gan Kim Yong, and over the past few years, I was just thinking a bit more about, okay, where are we? What do we need? Yeah, I would say I'm a bit more excited than I thought I would be.
Yeah. And even that, what you said earlier about not knowing how people rose through the ranks in the private sector to become ministers.
Yeah.
To some extent, even when SAF generals enter politics and all that, you don't really track their career path in the army and also right. You don't really understand fully what their roles are in the army or what they did or did not do to rise through the ranks to become a general. Was it accelerated or was it what? But then suddenly so many generals who get to the top and then suddenly laterally move to become CEO of SPH or CEO of what is always feels strange, right?
Or SMRT,
Yeah. Whereas for Lawrence Wong, in some ways, he worked in this ministry, he worked in that ministry, and that's his part. That is the career path of a civil servant, in some ways. And then becoming PPS to Lee Hsien Loong himself and all that.
Yeah.
And then entering politics. Okay, I mean, you kind of get a sense of what he's done, right?
And even before COVID, he was not that prominent, right?
Yeah, he wasn't.
Right, he wasn't, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, interesting. And I mean, do you see videos of the gathering in UT? His GRC?
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite funny. It's like, when you see a Singaporean athlete at the games, in overseas countries, you see Argentina in the World Cup final, then you get Argentinians watching. This one felt like that. They're like, it's our MP becoming PM, everyone was celebrating. It's quite funny to watch.
I mean, it's kind of like the representative from your town.
Yeah, ascended the throne.
Ascended the throne, or became like this big celebrity kind of, right? It's like how you go to some small town, I don't know, maybe in Portugal, then suddenly there's one statue of Ronaldo there, then you realize, oh, he was born here or something.
Yeah, correct. And people hold that as a pride. But the thing is, he wasn't born in UT.
Yeah, he wasn't.
He wasn't.
But I'm sure he's been around there because he's part of the, this is GRC, right?
Yeah. And I mean, he also said like Gan Kim Yong was in the GRC next to him.
Oh, okay.
So they've been working closely together for a while. So it's funny, like the Lawrence Wong and the Gan Kim Yong bromance compared to the other bromance that was also present in the crowd. You know, the Ride Out brothers.
Oh, yeah.
They were sitting next to each other.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's just funny, like.
The seating arrangement was. Some people were just laughing at the seating arrangements also because all the MPs and ministers were also like they squeezed together like sardines. I think there's one meme going around about how they all look like they kena scolded by
mom
or something like that. And that kind of like, I was also wondering why they needed to squeeze all those chairs so closely together. Given that, we also just came in, COVID is not too distant a memory, right?
I mean, the Istana field is pretty big, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So why you have to do that?
Why? Maybe it's just the design of the chairs. It's kind of like there are certain buildings in Singapore, the older buildings, that when you drive your modern day car and try and park, you're like, what? This car park is impossibly small. Maybe the chairs at Istana are like from the 70s or something when everyone was smaller.
Yeah.
Now everyone...
We have to use the swearing in chairs. We cannot use any other
tradition.
Yeah, it's a tradition.
Yeah. So many MPs and ministers have sat on that very chair that you're squeezing in next to Jamus with his with his tie. Yeah.
And then people also pointed out, like, in some way there is a hierarchy, It's president to PM to outgoing PM, and then the SMs, and then the Chief Justice before the ministers.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean that I don't know. I'm guessing that there is some significance of the order, right?
I mean, Chief Justice is seen as like, the branch, the head of the judiciary branch, right? And then, I mean, MPs and all are...
And ministers also.
Ministers, executive, right? Then MPs are the legislative, right? So I guess you have to give priority to the head of each particular pillar, right? But the other funny thing that I also remember during the swearing in was like, when they asked when they asked the groups to swear in, they say, I name and
state your name or something,
right? Yeah. So it just reminded me of the army, rank and name. Yeah, I, Third Sergeant Terence Chia, S blah 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 blah. Remember those days? And then after that, like basically, it's just everyone just screaming out their own names. And it's just a mess. Like you don't know who people actually are saying their names, right?
And then in army also, the first few, some people who are so nervous, they say, I rank and name, NRIC.
NRIC rank and name. I was waiting for any minister to do that.
Yeah, I wonder.
I name.
Yeah, if you go back and zoom in and you see their lip reading, because I mean, it can be quite like, it's not a common thing. When was the last time they were being sworn in?
Yeah.
They have to hold on to the constitution and I guess the religious book of their choice, right? So I totally feel that someone probably like screwed it up.
And they also got different ways of holding up the hand when they swear. Some do the open palm, some do closed palm, some do some other patterns. But you know who we need for this exercise? If you really want to make out what people are saying?
Who?
The one who discovered the fucking populist.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The guy on Reddit. I can't remember his username.
Oh yeah, that's
he needs
true.
to get to work.
Zoom in, like fucking zoom in, increase the resolution.
Everything, like download the stream, high quality straight away.
Yeah. So I mean, interesting to watch, and after that, it felt like there was food, right? Because they got a bunch of hawkers to supply, provide food, and I mean, like PSP, Workers' Party, all posted how you say, like their own messages about the handover, and they were all there under a tent, and students also attended.
Yeah.
So like what you said, there were community leaders in audience, but also probably student leaders also.
Yeah. People also pointed out, a Jewish and a Muslim leader seated in the same row. And even like that. Says something a lot. Says a lot about Singapore also.
Probably the 7 major religions, right? 7 religions, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
But then there was the performance also, last but not least.
Oh yeah.
The NDP song.
From Lin Ying.
Lin Ying, Shai Zairi, and
let me find out.
Shabir, is it?
Shabir.
Yeah.
They sang, what song was that?
From 2021, the NTB song, The Road Ahead. Yeah,
The Road Ahead. I see.
I think one of the best modern NDP songs in recent years.
Shabir Sultan. Yeah.
One of the best modern NDP songs. But some people were criticizing the quality of the audio, like the mics and all. Just couldn't really hear very distinctly what they were saying.
I guess if there was priority for the swearing in, the music is probably like just they probably customize tune the mics for the speeches
for the live audience.
Yeah, and I don't think it's meant to be like a concert kind of thing.
But like all the Trump inauguration and all that, there were big performances from like Kid Rock, who came.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I was like, okay, if you really got this performance to come, you must all go all out and like make it really something to a spectacle.
Maybe the same thing they had to use the traditional swearing in chairs. Maybe even the sound system that we cannot change anything. We only have the playbook from 2004.
Yeah, this doesn't happen very often.
Because the president inauguration in the US, it happens every 4 years, right?
Yeah.
So they have a playbook. There are people who maybe have seen once. Probably everyone working on the logistics of the swearing in. They didn't work on the previous one.
Correct.
Right. So
they should have called for the expertise of the Sports Hub people.
Oh yeah.
If anyone knows how to tune like audio for live events, it's those guys.
Sports Hub people I want to be a hub for concerts.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was in true spirit of Singapore, the CMIO representation, for the singers.
Correct. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, interesting. It's a new era.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was you when you pointed out that day that I was like, hey, actually, when you said it was don't know what you said, it was a once in a generation kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's true, It's true.
It's true.
It's true.
Of course, I didn't drag my kid out a bit to go and like watch it or what. I don't think. I don't think I don't think kids will be interested in this kind of thing, but it's just one of those things. Probably, you remember, if you're a young teenager or something.
Yeah. But interesting, a new era. Excited to see what happens.
Yeah,
and to remember the things that have been laid out now, and to really hold people accountable.
You mean the arrangement of the chairs? Or?
Oh no. The looking for more than materialistic success and all that parents.
I see.
Accountability.
But yeah, which is a great segue talking about this next topic, which is actually I think although we'll laugh at it, but at the same time, I think it's a very interesting discussion about how much accountability someone has, and what is this? Who is this person in question?
A dear Mr. Tan Chuan Jin, who at one point, was even more prominent than Lawrence Wong.
He was, yes, he was.
Right, he was a lot more prominent. Earmarked as one of the future leaders of Singapore.
Yeah.
But how their paths have diverged. Have differed and diverged because. He is in the news for all the wrong reasons, man. Because apparently since May 10th, there was advertisement for a course that was circulated online by the SMF, the Singapore Manufacturing Federation, SMF Center for Corporate Learning, the SMF CCL Facebook page. And it was about a leadership course, called the Masterclass in Leadership, that featured the profile, the mugshot of the speaker in question, and it was none other than Mr. Tan Chuan Jin.
Yeah.
So it was over 3 sessions, and the cost for registration was $1,090.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing it in some of the WhatsApp groups that I'm in, and I initially thought it was just like a meme or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah. How did you first come across it?
Same like people were talking about it on Reddit, and it was being shared around WhatsApp and stuff like that. So,
but your initial thought was that it's a real thing, it's a meme, it's a prank.
Completely real, because I have even attended one of these like leadership, kind of leadership in the workplace kind of workshops that were taught, or at least partially taught by some former MP or something like that before.
Which one?
I can't remember, but it was something to do with like SMEs and all that leadership.
Well, how long ago was it?
Yeah, I don't know, like 8-9 years ago maybe.
Oh, after we started doing content already.
After we started doing content, yeah.
Oh,
but it was part of like trying to get a grant for something, right?
Okay.
So it's necessity, like you have to go for 2 days kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or a day. But yeah, so there was a former MP who taught the class, and I think it was. A lot of it was just about sharing their experience being, you know, an MP, talking to people from all walks of life and how to manage different personalities, which I think someone in that role as an MP and all that actually is quite well suited to teach, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it was meant to be done over 3 series, each series comprising 2 sessions.
Yep.
So some of the things that were planned to be covered was to understand the broader Singapore context in which leaders and their companies operate and its implications. To learn there's a grammatical error. To learn what leader could do to make a difference to society. To understand leadership and how to lead effectively. To develop the individual leader's leadership philosophy. To understand strategic communications, to develop ideas on how to win hearts and minds, and to earn trust and respect, which was in the final session of the final series.
Yeah.
So the first session was meant to happen on 10th July, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I mean, it was confirmed by Mothership in his article that SkillsFuture could not be used to offset this.
Yeah. And it's a real cost, right?
It's a real cost. It's $1,090 per attendee, inclusive of GST. So not a cheap cost.
Yeah.
You know, and I know there are a lot of courses out there that advertise at a certain fee, but you can use SkillsFuture to offset. There are companies that, you know, help you offset it such that you only pay like 10%. But this one you pay the full amount.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so since it went viral, the Facebook post and ad has actually been taken down.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's been taken down.
Yeah, so there are still screenshots you can find floating around, but it has been taken down.
Yeah.
So, Terence, well, what do you feel when you saw this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was a lot of ridicule, right? And people online got to work, right? Because I think one of the lessons that the class was supposed to teach was about how to earn trust amongst people.
You're going to say thrust, is it?
No, really, yeah. The jokes online were like how to earn thrust. Or lessons of leadership.
How to win hearts.
How to win hearts.
How to win hearts.
Win hearts at the workplace.
And
you know.
Trust. Yeah.
And then to win over your colleagues.
Your colleagues.
So yeah, you know, there were a lot of these kind of jokes. So if that's your intention to go and laugh at Tan Chuan Jin, or at least like the whole Schadenfreude of his political career, there's room for it. But I mean, I thought the bigger thing that was more interest to me was like, you know, can we begrudge this man for doing this to, you know, pay the bills and everything? Can you, or is it like too soon, or what is it? What is that? At what point do we like, okay, let's not like vilify this guy? Because I mean, obviously, while the cause they say is still going on, but the fact that they took down the post means that they must have realized that the reaction is very bad, right? You know, so you know, I just wanted to just put it out there, like, are we just like being you know, like those guys on Sammy Boy just making all these stupid jokes, but not letting this guy.
What do you feel?
What do I feel? Well, I'm asking you, like, what do you feel about it?
So I think I wouldn't begrudge him for like being part of a course on a subject.
Yeah.
I just think the subject is ridiculous.
The leadership.
Leadership.
Yeah.
And like the sub-points about winning hearts and minds to earn trust and respect.
Yeah.
That I feel is fucking ridiculous.
Why? I mean, he was, even before politics, he was a general and then he was an MP and everything also. What?
Yeah, but like at the end of the day, what's he most known for?
Betraying the trust of people.
And cheating on his wife.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct.
That doesn't sound very trustworthy. So you can be trustworthy, and then you do that. Not to say you can't have other things. If this course was about, you know, redemption, or, you know,
communication
or humility, you know, then I'll be like, okay, let's say if I did a course on a silent retreat, like, doesn't really fit like what I'm known for or what you tell people I'm known for, right?
Correct.
Yeah, or if you do a course on like eternal optimism,
yeah,
I'll be like, yo man, like not doesn't fit lah, you know.
Doesn't fit,
So that was my thought. I thought this is like fucking, I don't know whether it was his idea or it could be his idea. I don't know. It could be the idea of the organization wanting to get him, which I also think is fucking ridiculous. And I just thought, like, how does this make sense if you are planning the course?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that there was a typo, or at least a grammatical error, kind of tells you that not that much checks or checks have gone through the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
But I agree with you. They're calling it. I think maybe what it is that it's just too soon to call it a masterclass in leadership, right?
Yeah.
people are still grappling with we're still grappling with the political fallout of him, of his whole fiasco, right? Him, Iswaran, and amongst other things, right? So yeah, and he never has publicly addressed any of these things, or we don't know what has happened to him since then, whether he's still in Singapore or out of Singapore. Is he working? Is he not working? Is he still married or is not married? Not that it matters to us, right? But as a public figure, you can't just disappear overnight and then after that reappear like later, and then people are like supposed to just, okay, doesn't matter where you've been the last 2 years, right? You don't need to account for what happened the last 2 years. So I think that's the big issue, is that he is suddenly coming out and then suddenly being positioned as a leader again, right? When he literally just, in his last role, he just abdicated the leadership role of Parliament, right? Abdicated and then sort of abandoned the residents also, right? No more. Immediately stepped down from all his duties and all these things. So he hasn't even, I don't think that he has publicly squared that with either of those groups, right? And then to suddenly come out and then be teaching masterclass leadership is strange.
Even his final message bidding goodbye was a bit annoying, right? I can't remember.
The resignation letter.
Yeah, resignation letter. Yeah. Right. So then, another thing we were talking about, trust. Is he the best person to teach about trust? Strategic communications.
Yeah.
Coming from someone who was caught saying fucking populist as Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that being very strategic, bro.
Correct. Yeah.
So it just, but we are talking about whether this is on brand or not. The lack of self-awareness feels a bit on brand.
Yeah.
So
it's consistent with what he's been doing, right?
Yeah. Even the profile photo they chose of him, it feels like
almost too smug, right? Smirking at the camera. Like I'm figuring someone of his stature, of the position he's attained, like a general, everything. He's got to have one of those photos where he's looking off in the distance and looking quite serious and thinking about the future. But they end up using this almost like a selfie kind of photo, to
and
market
the smugness. It reminds me of that time when he was, eating the filet of fish at midnight after Parliament or something.
Oh, yeah.
It just felt like, that kind of humble brag, we work so hard, I have to eat at midnight.
Yeah.
So it just felt like, what is going on here?
Masterclass in lack of self-awareness.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, for all we know, maybe he was like how to develop ideas on how to win hearts and minds and earn the trust and respect. Maybe his lesson one will be don't fuck a colleague in secret when you are married.
And then you want to scold your colleague, do it quietly.
Yeah, do it quietly. Make sure you turn off the mic. Yeah. So, but if that's the case, then you mention it. And I mean, it's so weird, the response to this, because, his counterpart, who was also involved in a similar allegation on the same day, Leon Pereira, he has also started making public appearances. Right? He was invited to an event organized by Jom.
Jom, right? Sudhir's Jom.
Yeah, but it didn't get that much backlash or any response.
Yeah.
Right.
I think because that one was, talking about the political situation or political future of Singapore.
Yeah.
And it's a event. I don't think they're charging anywhere close to the fees that this class is charging, right? But yeah, I did want to ask you then, if he can't teach about, if you feel that it's too early for him to be talking about leadership and all that, then what kind of class would you think would be okay? Master class in what? Like
running.
Soh Rui Yong will have something to say about that.
No, the funny thing was, now Soh Rui Yong and his Run So Fast Academy, they have created a leadership course.
That's right. In response to this masterclass.
Subtle response.
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, one thing, like if he were to talk about, life in the public eye or something, learnings from life in the public eye, then I feel like, okay, that is still an interesting perspective. How many people can say they were working in politics for so long, became Speaker of Parliament, and had a very sharp decline?
Yeah.
No, I think there's so much you can learn from that.
Yeah.
So that would be one course that I would take from him, like a fast rise and a faster fall. Wow, you read the title, right? I'm like, I want to go for that.
The other one that I think would be super relevant, that would make me like, oh yeah, this is actually interesting, will be crisis management. If anyone, in the span of months, he had 2 big crises to take care of. And I always go back to and these instances of being caught cheating.
Yeah.
Very hard to dig yourself out of that hole, right? For prominent people. But I think for me in my life, the one that I saw that was like really like, oh, okay, wow, he really nipped it in the bud really well. Was I think David Letterman, right? Where I think in the late 90s, I can't remember late 90s, early 2000s, he had an affair with someone on his team, his production team. And yeah, it came to light because that person apparently wanted to blackmail him or something like that, or threatened to leak it to whoever for money. And I mean, he merely just refused to do the blackmail thing and just came public with it lah. And he addressed it on during that first part of his show, the monologue and all that. And yeah, I'm sure you can find a video on YouTube. But he really just like, you know what? Yeah, I fucked up. I did something really stupid and bad, and I hurt my family. And yeah, all I ask is that you give us the privacy and time to deal with it right now. And that's all I have to say about that lah.
Yeah.
And as far as I remember, at least from a pop culture standpoint, like there was a lot less scrutiny on it after that lah.
Yeah, that's true. I remember watching that clip also, and you watch it and you're like, yeah, he fucked up, he did a terrible thing, but it felt like
you address it lah, right?
You address it lah, and you acknowledge it, you admit it.
Yeah.
Why does this one come up with a course on this? Another course, I think he'll be the perfect person to teach is multitasking.
Yeah.
Multitasking. Because it is a feat lah, to be Speaker of Parliament. Someone in the same fucking Parliament, in the same that room, no. Then travel planning.
Travel planning.
Travel planning,
Maxing out your privileges while traveling.
That's why. Maxing out your maybe just like, how you say, like perseverance to a certain extent. The biggest boss of the land was telling you to, stop.
Yeah, but you carried on.
Just carried on. Yeah, what more? You're a perseverer, man.
Yeah.
You persevere and like you're rebellious lah.
Yeah, so I know we have been sort of like shitting on this whole thing for a while lah, right? But let's say if he was your friend, like Tan Chuan Jin is your old buddy from school or something like that, and you saw all this happen in the news and he did it all that, like would you treat him any differently as a friend, or what?
At what point, like
he's just disappeared for the last year lah, from your friend groups and everything.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you see something like that, or what? Like, what would you feel as a friend lah?
I would feel like this. It feels like he doesn't understand the gravity of what he did lah. And like, yo man, like you need almost like an intervention of sorts. And it doesn't feel like it's someone that you can even see like, what is this guy's thought process? Because it just sounds like a horrible idea. So if he was a good friend, like, I think I would reach out to him like, yo, like, everything okay? This might not be the best look for you. And it'd be more destructive than constructive.
Yeah.
For you?
Yeah, I think as a friend, I think what would irk me most is the seeming lack of remorse, right?
Yeah.
That as a human being, I think like what you said, as a friend or what, you probably would be like, hey, you might want to think twice about like this lah. Or even not to that stage of talking about this, but even like, hey, like, dude, like what happened, in that whole situation? Like, can we just like have a chat about it or something lah?
Yeah.
Because I think I've been in this kind of situation so lah, where someone like sort of like, betrayed the trust of his family, everything. And after that just disappeared for a while, then suddenly came back and then just wanting to act like everything's normal again. And in that situation, I couldn't. It was very hard for me to everything's back to normal. Because to me, it's like, you do something that so visibly affects people around you, that people, mutual friends and all that we know and all that. I think you got to at least address it, right? And then we can at least know, okay, you're remorseful, or you've thought about it and you sort of like squared it with yourself and the effects of what your actions have had on the people around you, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this one kind of feels like, hey, does he even realize that the kind of effects that what he did has on his public image and people around him?
Yeah, and you just wonder what's going on in his life.
Yeah.
Because no one knows.
Yeah.
At least Leon Pereira, slowly coming back into the public eye. I mean, Nicole Xia, no idea. Cheng Li Hui, no idea.
Yeah.
But to make your return like this, not the best idea lah.
The invitation's always out there, right? Yellow Butt
of course.
We would love to chat with anyone of them. Yeah.
Anyone, Tan Chuan Jin, Cheng Li Hui. I'm looking at you in the camera straight, Leon Pereira, Nicole Xia. If you want to chat, we are more than willing to listen lah.
Yeah.
Yeah lah.
But, it's it's just a strange situation of that we had a new PM being sworn in, and then one of the front runners at one point somehow got sworn at.
The swearing in of one, the swearing at of one. Walao, that is the perfect way to sum it.
Yes.
Sum it up.
Yes.
Cool.
Man. Cool. It's been a while since we talked about one short comment. What is your one short comment?
My one short comment was from a Redditor, Old Man Twix Eater, 4 days ago, so 13th May. It was a very sweet message. So it was a post in and of itself on Reddit. And the title is "I love this podcast." So I'll just read the some parts of the message. I started listening to Yalla But in 2020 when we were all forced to stay inside. I would exercise by climbing the stairs in HDB. I listened to them religiously until a few months ago when life got too busy to keep up. So I took a break from several podcasts I listened to. Just got back, been catching up. Remember it being once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, daily during GE. All I can say is I really miss their voices and their unique perspectives these two provide. And I also want to acknowledge how Yalla But has always felt close to their audience, and as a listener, I've always got the impression that these 3 people really listen to their audience. Now 4, they're not afraid to push boundaries and continue to have artistic integrity. What a special thing this podcast is.
Yeah.
Walama. Such a sweet message. And yeah, like people were responding also. So thanks a lot, man. Old Man Twix Eater.
Yeah. In the same vein also, mine was also a comment on Leong Man Wai podcast, but on YouTube. Keep Going 335 said, Leong Man Wai is often made fun of, but he shared some things about how the economy works that opened my eyes. This interview changed my view about Mr. Leong. Some of his ideas sound underdeveloped, but some of his views I think are quite valid. I think the government probably shares some of his long-term views, but is scared to publicly agree with him because of the optics. So yeah, and then another reply to that in that same thread, I have had many negative views of Leong Man Wai due to how his questions in Parliament paint him as a very antagonistic person. Here, in this interview, he comes across as a very agreeable and amiable person. Leong Man Wai, in my view, is a very principled and nice man. Pleasant change of opinion. So, yeah, to what we were saying earlier, like Yalla But is a place where, people can explain themselves. Yeah. And you maybe might change your mind about them after you hear that.
And I mean, in some way, like, what Leong Man Wai was saying about how the goals of the future and people's priorities are changing. In some way, that's what Lawrence Wong said last night also.
Yeah.
Like, don't focus on materialistic career. So, I mean, interesting.
Yeah.
So that's great to hear. What about your one show thing, man?
My one show thing actually is a shout out to someone who has been on this podcast before. And it's actually the endurance athlete and fitness influencer, Natalie Dow. She's an amazing endurance athlete, and she's embarking on breaking a Guinness World Record. She is going to run 1,000 kilometers for charity. So I believe she's embarking on it soon, like this couple of days, because I think last week she had an event. But what I believe she's doing for is she's raising money for a women's charity, and she's going to start by running the equivalent of 2 marathons for 12 days straight.
Fucking nuts.
2 marathons a day for 12 days straight.
Fucking nuts.
And a marathon is 42 kilometers, so an average of 84 kilometers a day for 12 days straight to raise awareness and money for this particular charity. Let me pull out that particular charity. I think it's important to put it out there, right?
And I mean, she actually mentioned this on the podcast that she appeared on with us.
Yes.
And that was last year. And she said, next year I'm planning to run 1,000 kilometers over like 10 to 12 days. And I remember thinking, holy shit, that's fucking nuts. But you can go back and listen to that episode, and now it's actually happening, which is so awesome to see.
I believe I think it's happening next week, next week. So it's I mean, all the best to Natalie.
And the charity, you have the name?
I'm still trying to dig it up. It's called Project 100. It's
unless maybe I go with my one shook thing and then you
go with your one shook thing, I'll pull it back out again.
You can find it. So my one shook thing is admittedly, I haven't really been following the Premier League as closely this year as I would have liked to. But this coming weekend is the final weekend, final game of the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are a lot of things happening that make it quite exciting. Even though Man City has a lot of momentum, and I would say the odds are that they will win the Premier League.
Yeah.
There's a chance they might not. You know, which is always nice. It's always nice to have the Premier League come down to the final day. But then some other things also that are happening is that, you know, it's Klopp's final game as a Liverpool manager. I think the potential for certain clubs to still make it into Europe, either via the Champions League, the Europa League, or what's the other one, Adam? Europa Conference League. It's still moving up and down. So yeah, I think it's just exciting that the last day still has so many uncertainties.
It's actually, and yeah, I think in the idea of like the title being decided on the last day actually is quite rare.
Yeah.
It's quite rare, right?
Yeah.
We don't realize it, but actually, like most years, it's like usually decided like a few days or weeks before already.
Yeah, like German League decided already.
Yeah.
Spanish also, I think, decided.
Italian decided.
And I mean, if City win, okay, I'm not the biggest fan of Man City, obviously, but they'll be the first club to win, I think, 4 titles in a row, which is insane, and annoying, but yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
but did you manage to find a?
Yes, it's Natalie Dow is running 1,000 kilometers, 2 marathons per day for 12 days for a charity called GRLS, which empowers young women through their body image and sport. Yeah, empowering girls through body image and sport. Yeah, so that's the charity that she's raising awareness for. Cool, very on brand for her.
Yeah, and we'll put the link in the show notes if you want to contribute. I'm guessing she'll be posting daily updates and all.
She's posted quite a bit of things already. That's why I was digging through so many things to find them. But yeah, crazy, man.
Solid. Cool, man.
Cool.
All right. That's the first podcast in the Wong era.
The PMW.
The PMW. PMW era. So thanks so much for listening. If you please do tell at least one other person about us if you haven't already told them. Follow us on social media. And if you want to work with us, what should they do, Terrence?
Go to ministryoffunny.com. That's where to reach us.
Oh, and we have some big announcements coming next week.
Yeah, big announcements coming up.
Big announcements.
We've just been teasing it, trying to settle the details. But yeah, keep your calendars, like hopefully in June you'll be around now, right?
Yeah, early June.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. Thanks so much for listening, everybody.